In today's video, I'm going to bring you along for a week in my life as I try to figure out how to juggle household chores and the boring stuff, whilst also finding time for the things that make life feel full. You're going to watch my mood shift from pretty hopeless and frustrated to really happy and grateful to be here again. You're going to see cleaning, of course, but you're also going to see some self-care, a date night, some lovely walks in nature, bonding time with my family, and how my garden transformation's coming along. Because I know this channel's predominantly about cleaning, but I wanted to include you in some of the behind the scenes of our life, some of the things that bring me joy, some of the lovely cosy aspects of home life. And I really hope you enjoy watching. Each day is split into its own little mini episode, so as always you don't have to watch all in one go. It's totally up to you. So let's get into it. Join me for a day in my life as a chronically overwhelmed mum who just can't seem to keep on top of things no matter what I do. Today I'm on a mission to turn my mental health around and gain back control of my house. Again. And yes, I say again because as we all know by now, this happens quite often. And I just wanted to talk about it, partly because I need a massive vent, but also because I know I'm not the only one who feels like they're constantly chasing their tail and not really getting anywhere. And it can be frustrating, not to mention emotionally and physically draining. So if you're in a similar situation to me and your house has gotten on top of you, let's work together and push through to get rid of the bulk of the mess today. And hopefully we'll wake up tomorrow morning feeling like we've got more of a handle on things. Because right now, I don't feel like that at all. This is the last thing I want to do. I have no motivation for it. But I know I'll feel so much differently when it's done. I am just irritated at the minute though. Irritated that it's happened again. Because I have done a great big clean-up like this so many times. And I always promise myself that this is the last time I'll have to work so hard and spend so much time on it. Because next time I'm going to be consistent and pick up as I go along more. Yeah. Granted, it's not as bad as it has been in the past, and I'm sure you can all see that. And it's not to say I'm not trying and I'm not constantly on the move and sorting stuff around the house. But often the mess happens far faster than I can counteract it. And the main issue is, some people, like me, really struggle with creating and sticking to habits. That's the project I'm working on right now behind the table, a sandpit for the boys. But we struggle with staying on track and being consistent when our moods or situations fluctuate regularly. Honestly, I never know who I'm going to wake up as each morning. And if my little one sleeps terribly, like he has been doing recently, the next day is pretty much a write-off. Last night, for example, my little one, Ike, was up at 2, 3 and finally decided to wake up for the day at 4:30 a.m. Now, there's only so many days in a row I can cope with that. He's like the Terminator. He just doesn't need to sleep. Why those carrots keep reappearing in my house, I do not know. But yeah, the day already got off to a rocky start because I had to wake Charlie up and say, look, you've got to do the school run today because I need to go back to sleep. Bear in mind that Charlie was on the late shift the night before, we'll be on the late shift again tonight, and then we'll be going straight to an early shift the next day, followed by me heading out for my late shift as soon as he gets home. So I felt ridiculously guilty. Usually we plan in advance whose morning it is to do the school run, but I had to lean on him. Because I'm still recovering from low iron, and I'm still the one that gets up with the kids in the night if ever they wake. So anyway, I had grand plans to start early today, but I woke up at 11. Already in a bad mood because of that, so a huge portion of the day was already gone. Charlie was too tired to do much other than lie on the settee and watch films with Ike. And because of that, in just one day where we're not as on the ball, the whole house will turn into chaos. And I struggle with that concept. That I can't even allow myself one day just to rest. Otherwise, the consequence will be an entire day, like today, of resetting the house. An entire day where I'm not able to give my family the attention they deserve. Or make time to exercise and work on my health, which is something I'm desperately trying to do. Or just go out and visit family or friends, or just do anything that makes life feel full and well-rounded. Saying that, even when the house is not overly messy, I still feel like I have to spend the majority of my time just making sure it doesn't get to that point. I don't want to spend my entire life cleaning and tidying and doing laundry, only for it to look like I've done nothing the next day. I'm tired of being in this vicious cycle of putting more effort than I really should be into managing the house and preventing mess, only for that to result in burnout and ultimately a massive mess again. And I know, I'm moaning, but sometimes I think it's healthy to moan. It's cathartic, so just allow me the indulgence. Anyway, some of us whose houses get messy quickly will hear pick up as you go along constantly from other people. We're told how easy it is, how it shouldn't be this difficult to maintain a tidy space. And then they go on to list all of the good habits that they have, that they perform consistently each day without fail to keep on top of things. Like it's the most simple thing in the world for everybody. And the only reason that someone wouldn't be able to do it must be that they just don't know what it is they need to do. It's hard to convey and get across that not all of us notice the things we could do to prevent a big mess throughout the day. And that's the key factor to being able to pick up as you go along. Noticing at all times what needs to be done. As much as some people struggle with the concept, and they really do, not everyone's brain works in the same way. And it's not always a simple case of knowing what to do or being more disciplined. I know for me, in order to see a mess in the making, I have to be in cleaning mode and actively looking for it. This is why I often do big cleanups at the start or sometimes the end of the day. Because I don't really notice mess building up. I only notice when it's gotten to the point where I can't bear it. Which is not ideal, and if you watch my YouTube, you'll know that's something I'm working on. But I have a really all or nothing mindset, and I can really only focus on one thing at a time. And I'll focus on that one thing intensely. So if I'm focusing on spending time with the kids, I'm not really noticing the mess that's building up. If I'm focusing on a creative project, nothing else in the world exists. And hours can pass by in what feels like a minute. This is why turning cleaning and making cleaning videos into a creative outlet has been so beneficial for my family. But yeah, I also have something called waiting mode that really hinders me. For example, if I'm trying to fit in an exercise routine into my day, I'll really struggle to do anything else until I've got it done and out of my brain. Or if I have work later on in the day or an appointment I need to get to later on, I find it hard to be productive or do anything else but wait for that thing to be out of the way. I'm a lot better now with it, but when I was younger, I'd literally waste entire days just waiting for that thing, because I was so anxious and couldn't rest until it was complete. So I'm constantly moving in and out of modes, and they rarely overlap. I have to be in certain modes to do certain things. It's very all or nothing and largely out of my control. Another example is I need to get into friend mode to remember to be a good friend and message people back. I am absolutely awful for this. It's usually at the end of the day when I'm drifting off to sleep that I'll realise that I've missed about 100 messages in the group chat, and I end up having to kind of awkwardly slot myself into the conversation after it's already done, just to reassure them that I'm here and I care and I love them. My brain's just frazzled. The guilt I feel over that. I have to get into relationship mode to remember not to neglect my relationship. And that usually means having to carve out time to nurture us. That time usually happens after 10 o'clock at night, after the kids have gone to bed. And because I suffer with exhaustion, when we make that time for each other, I know I'm sacrificing the next day. Because I'll be walking around like a zombie and too tired to do anything. And what happens then? I drop the ball on the house. And I feel guilty that I haven't taken my son out anywhere or done anything mentally stimulating with him. It's just this constant juggling act. I know to a certain extent it's something each and every one of us struggle with. Finding balance. Juggling everything. Because life's just so busy and the pressure on us as individual humans just gets greater and greater with each decade. Certain aspects of our life are going to get neglected and are going to suffer because we just physically can't do everything all of the time. But I find even the basics so unnecessarily difficult. I dream of a balanced life where everything flows smoothly. And I don't freeze or go into waiting mode, and I don't leave things to build up for the end of the day. And I'm able to be a good friend and partner and mum, and make time for hobbies and work in the same day, without that meaning the house is going to spiral out of control. And maybe that sounds ridiculous, but I think if you have ADHD, you'll understand all of these things completely. And if you have a family full of neurodivergent folk, all in their own little worlds, all focusing on whatever it is they're focusing on at the time, all collectively not noticing the mess as they carry on their merry way, you'll doubly understand. You'll understand how it builds up and gets out of control so fast. I often get told you need to teach your children to put their things away after they've finished with them. You need to train your partner to help. And people say all of this with next to no context of what goes on behind the scenes. I do try to teach them, of course. Just because you don't see that in the videos doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Not my partner, obviously, because he's not a dog who needs training. He's a competent adult who already does way more than his fair share. But what I'm saying is, we're all trying. I'm doing my best to raise children who aren't going to struggle with basic life skills as adults. That's on my mind constantly, trust me. Because the fact is, I myself have always struggled with things that a lot of other people find really simple and basic. And I've worked extraordinarily hard to get to the point I'm at today. You see, before I had kids, as much as I hated the mess and it made me anxious, I didn't have enough of an incentive to do anything about it. I found it too overwhelming and didn't know where to start. So I didn't start. My room was so messy you couldn't see the floor. Clothes, artwork, mouldy food, Coca-Cola cans, just everything, everywhere. And this was well into my 20s, by the way. My children, and becoming a mum, pushed me to want to make a change and do better for them. So some people might, from the outside looking in, still think this isn't acceptable. You need to do better and be better for your kids. But I've been working on doing just that since I became a mum, and I've been gradually improving ever since. But I still have days where I feel like I'm never going to be able to maintain it. I can never fully relax because I fear if I do, the house and my brain are both going to revert back to the way it was before. And not only do my kids not deserve that, neither do I. I've worked too hard to be where I am today and find methods and ways to muddle along as best I can. And I'm not one to give up. As much as I'm tired in my soul at the minute, I've found I'm happiest when I'm productive. I know I'm at my best mentally when the house is tidy, not show home level tidy, of course, but acceptable. At a level I wouldn't be embarrassed if someone randomly popped over to visit. That's what I'm going for. And this is why I drone on about tidying and about executive dysfunction in my videos, and how those things leach into and affect every other aspect of a person's life. Keeping house for some people is such a small facet of their overall life and experience, whereas for others, it's debilitating and all-consuming. And sometimes, all people need is to just feel seen and understood in their struggles. So I'm happy to be the person that goes on about it over and over again on the internet. And for me, it's just one of those days where I don't feel like I've got anything figured out. And I thought it was important to share. I don't always feel like this, don't get me wrong. A lot of the time I feel really confident in the direction I'm going in life. But some days I just get so much mum guilt and guilt in general. Because time's moving so fast and life's so fleeting, but we still have responsibilities and things we need to get done from day to day. Literally, how do we fit it all in? I don't want to spend hours of my life each day tidying when I could be visiting the people I love, people who aren't going to be here forever. I want to use my precious time to just be with my toddler while he's still a toddler, and not running through mental checklists of all the things I need to do and all the goals I haven't met yet. Do you know what? It's 'cause I'm on my period. I'll feel completely different in a week. And that's another thing we have to deal with, feeling like 4 different people every month. But anyway, I'm just going to take it one day at a time. I'm taking a few days to create a kind of clean slate. And today, I spent as much time as I needed getting back on top of the house. I proved to myself that I do still have time to get some exercise in and spend some quality time with the kids. It wasn't all just about cleaning. We've had a takeaway, because I feel like sometimes you've just got to treat yourself, not only to some tasty food that someone else has cooked, but also to the gift of no more pots in the sink. Me and the littlest haven't really done much else today, but there's always tomorrow. And I keep telling myself, at least I'm not going to have as much to do when I wake up in the morning. And that's a win. And I think I'm going to document the next few days as well, of me just trying to claw myself out of this rut and get into a better mindset. Because at the end of the day, it's all about perspective. It's all about I get to instead of I have to. It's about finding joy in the mundane and the little things. I get to clean my house. I get to go to work. I have a family and so much to do that I sometimes can't fit it all in. There are some people who would do anything to be in that position. And there was a time I could only dream of being the person I am today and living the life I get to lead. And yeah, that's my little ramble for today. And do you know what? I already feel so much better. And I hope you do too. This is day 2 of my little mission to find balance in my day-to-day life. Because recently, I've been feeling like my entire life is just a constant cycle of tidying at the expense of everything else. And I don't want to go on like that anymore. So today, after the school run, I decided to nip into town with Ike, pick up some cleaning products. Ike was helping me choose which smelt the best. We popped into Greg's and ended up bumping into my auntie, my granddad and my nephew. And I know, that just sounds like a regular morning. But this is the thing. I have become so obsessed with trying to get everything I need to get done in the house first before we do anything else, that this was like a little treat for us, as sad as that sounds. Just the simple act of not heading straight home and immediately cleaning. It was so nice to randomly bump into loved ones. And when we got home, I put a wash in, Ike played with his new slime, and I just sat down for a bit and enjoyed my little cheese and onion pasty. And what I'm really going to try and work on over the next few days and commit to is just slowing down. Teaching myself that I don't need to get all of the quote-unquote hard stuff out of the way first before we can sort of live life and enjoy it. The two areas of what we need to do and what we want to do can coexist simultaneously. It doesn't have to be, I need to get this thing done first before we can do anything else. And again, this is my issue with all or nothing thinking. I massively overcompensate because I'm naturally disorganised and forgetful. And any space I was in has always gotten out of control quickly. And so this rushing home to get the cleaning done first is almost hypervigilance in a way. Here I'm about to put some more nematodes on the lawn. If you're an OG follower, you'll know all about our struggle with leather jacket grubs. And I've managed to grow our lawn back from literal mud to what you're going to see in a minute by applying nematodes regularly, and I am so pleased with how the grass is looking now. But I've worked so hard to get it to look like this over the last year and a half, and it's still not perfect. And I literally dread seeing a yellow patch on the lawn, because every time I do I think, oh, the back. We've got little alpine strawberries in the rocks here, so I was just picking one for Ike. And I meant to say pebbles, not rocks. And then it was back to the laundry. And yeah, I think the needing to get the household chores and cleaning done out of the way first stems from me being so disorganised when I was growing up and not really ever having a particular routine or structure to my day, that it just caused chaos in my life and made everything a lot harder than it needed to be. I used to put things off and let things pile up for days and sometimes weeks, and it wasn't just stuff around the house, it was important phone calls and just important things I needed to get done. And so the way I taught myself to eventually push through that and get things done was you do the hard thing first and then you can chill and then that's your reward. But that system doesn't work in my day-to-day life now, especially as a parent. Everything's too unpredictable. And now I need to work on undoing that a little bit and stopping being so rigid in my thinking. Because what it's doing is making us miss out on lots of lovely chance meetings like the one we had today, or spontaneous opportunities to go and do something in the morning. Oftentimes my mum will call me and she'll say, do you want to go here? And I'll be like, no, I've got to sort the house first. Why? This was not the person I used to be. And yeah, it's just preventing me from stopping and smelling the roses and living in the moment, which I think is so key to being able to be happy and live a fulfilled life. And logically, I know that the house can wait. But I also know that if I drop the ball and let my house wait, chaos, immediate chaos. A lot of time in the past, and I guess to a certain extent now, if I didn't get it all done in one go and out of the way, chances are I wasn't going to do it. And the probability of me getting that thing done reduced the further on into the day it got. And so the problem is now, to counteract the chaos, I wake up each day and it's almost as if I've got this imaginary, self-inflicted deadline upon my head. A 6-hour window while my eldest is at school where I feel like I need to get everything done in that time frame, otherwise I've failed that day. And I do realise this is ridiculous and this is not a healthy way of thinking. But it's so important to me on this channel to be transparent and to share the ups and downs and all of the ramblings that go on inside my head. And so yeah, a lot of the time, when I don't get what I need to get done in that time frame, I'll be irritable and playing catch up well into the afternoon when I should be relaxing and spending time with my family. So the majority of mornings recently, I wake up stressed and like I'm racing against the clock to complete something that's never gonna be complete. Housework isn't a game you can win or something that once it's finished, it's done for that day. It's continuous and ongoing, and that's something I really struggle to wrap my head around. And at this point, I wonder whether I'm making any sense to anybody. But we'll see. So it doesn't make much sense that I'm stressing myself out to get things done by a certain time, when I know all of that hard work's going to be undone anyway by dinner time, when there's new pots to wash and new laundry to be dried and put away. That's just the reality of having small children or just being a human being in general. As long as you're breathing, there are going to be things that need to be done around the house. We're never going to be able to turn around and be like, housework, completed it, mate. And when you spend your life constantly trying to play catch up or stay ahead, you miss out on precious time with the people in front of you, and that's time you're never going to get back again. I've had this conversation with myself so many times, but it's easier said than done snapping yourself out of it. But now, I'm determined to stop feeling stressed and just do what I can. And that means I'm going to try and stop having all or nothing days, which are days where I'll spend the entire day cleaning or days where I won't do any cleaning at all. And like I said, balance. I just want balance. I just want to reset my brain and say, look, it's not that deep. I'm also determined to try and heal the part of me that will only do something if I know I can do it perfectly. I used to flat out avoid doing things or put them off if I knew it wasn't going to be perfect. And I spoke about one of the reasons I do cleanups at the start of the day in the first part to this series, and that's because I struggle with picking up as I go along. But perfectionism is another reason. In my head, when I do a cleanup, I want to see the fruits of my labour all in one go. I want to see my lovely clean house and bask in it and for it to stay that way. But I know it's not going to stay that way. And knowing that makes me not want to do it at all. Because I just think, what's the point? What's the point in cleaning the toys up? They're going to be on the floor again in a second. What's the point in making the bed? We're just going to get back in it later. So I need to adjust my expectations and accept that the majority of the time, the house is going to look lived in. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's going to be washing drying on clothes horses and pots on the draining board and toys scattered everywhere. But that doesn't mean I've failed at keeping on top of the house, because it's never done and it's never complete. And hopefully accepting this is going to stop me from trying to achieve the impossible and burning myself out, or cutting my nose off to spite my face like I often do, and just letting the house descend into chaos because I just think, what's the point if it can't look perfect at all times? And I know you'll be looking at my house and videos thinking, Remy, your house is never perfect anyway. What are you going on about? Or Remy, you're the type of person who lets mess build up. And yep, I am that person, but I'm also this person in equal measure. I get comments from people a lot going, oh, I wish I could be more like you. I wish I could let it get a bit messy and not worry about it. And I just think, oh, you've got no idea what's going on in my brain. Especially since I started trying to keep a tidier home. I put a lot of pressure on myself so that I don't ever let it get to the point again where we couldn't move for clutter or see the floor. But then it ends up being to the detriment of spending time with my family, the people I'm doing all of this for, or self-care or hobbies and relationships and so on. So sometimes I feel myself swinging from one extreme to the next. Again, it's the all or nothing in me. And even despite the amount of effort I put in to keep things tidy, my house is still so messy every day. To the point where someone from the outside looking in would think I'd not done anything at all, sometimes nothing at all for days. But it's because as a family, we're also collectively dealing with executive dysfunction and time blindness and hyperfixations that sometimes mean that our surroundings aren't even on our radar. So we'll just put things down around the house absent-mindedly instead of putting things away. And that contributes to rapid mess. And this is where people get this idea that I'm really relaxed about it and that I don't mind the mess. And it just goes to show you never know the full picture. You never know what's going on inside someone's head or how hard they're trying. We're all complex people with complex and sometimes very contradictory inner worlds. But anyway, it's time for my late shift. Please join me in celebrating the fact that I kept up with my house, but I didn't force myself to do it all. I left some things because they can wait. And instead I had a slow morning, stopped to spend quality time with my little boy, and I just went easier on myself. And I think in the long run, if I keep this up, things just might fall into place. Today I woke up in a massively productive mood, and this is a rare experience for me. Usually it takes a good few hours of coaxing myself into the mindset to get anything done, so I decided to take full advantage of it and get as much done around the house as I could, because who knows when the magic's going to wear off. I think the reason I felt like this today is because me and Charlie have got date night tonight for the first time in months. My mum's having the boys overnight from about 2:30pm, and the only downside is we've both got work early tomorrow. For those of you who don't know, we both work together, so it's not all bad. Got the magic eraser out for all of the cupboard doors. I wanted to get the place looking spotless so that we could just come back from our date and enjoy a nice cosy evening. Because you know what? We deserve it. And there's nothing worse than trying to relax and just getting wound up by eyesores around the house. Anyway, this is day 3 of me trying to get a handle on the juggling act that is being an adult. Because I'm struggling with it. On day 1, I had to spend the entire day tidying up a massive mess that had piled up. Because in my house, if you drop the ball, even for a day, it looks like you've done nothing for a month. On day 2, after I'd reduced the mess to a manageable level, I was trying to figure out how to keep up with it while still managing to live a balanced life. Because I know I've said this a million times now, but I'm a really all or nothing person. And let's say if I'm focusing on keeping the house tidy, every other facet of my life will suffer. Or if I'm focusing on a creative project or spending time with the kids, whatever it is, the house will spiral out of control. The scales are always massively tipping in one particular direction, and I'm working on keeping it more level. Anyway, Charlie was about to take Ike swimming, so while they were getting ready, I started working on finishing the paintwork for the boys' new sandpit. I've been determined to give my boys a nice garden to play in for almost 2 years now, but there's been so many hurdles to overcome with it. The torrential rain we've been having over the past few years has been the predominant one. But yeah, whenever I've got a free second, I'll whip out the paintbrush and paint a side of the sandpit or another section of the fence. And it's the most calming thing. If I could do this for a living, just painting garden fences and furniture, I'd be a very happy woman. Anyway, literally only managed to get this bit of the fence done, because the rain was getting more and more heavy. But a small amount of progress is still progress. I am sick of it though. It's the middle of June. I know us Brits moan about the weather, but it's always one extreme or another. And I tell you what, the second we get a day without rain, I'm getting to the bottom of my laundry basket. And speaking of laundry, that was my next task. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to balance everything properly. But compared to the other day when the house was just a tip, I'm feeling a lot more positive about it and like, yeah, I can do this. And I hope watching this little series is helping you feel the same. My main theme for today is making quality time in my relationship. Because I feel like, especially when you're parents, but you don't have to be parents, it can just be living in this society where you have to split yourself in a million different directions. But I think in the hustle and bustle, we sometimes forget to nurture our relationships and how important it is to do that. Each relationship's like a little plant that needs to be fed and watered and tended to. And I think oftentimes our romantic relationships, especially when you're living with a person, they just get put on the back burner for a time when we have more time. Maybe when the kids have moved out or when we've got a weeks-long holiday or you know what I mean. But all we have is now, isn't it? And you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. And I know, and I think we all know, that our relationships deserve to be nurtured each day, even if just a little thing like a cuddle or a sit down and a chat at the end of the day. My children at times can be really, really demanding. They're not really a big fan of playing alone or allowing me a half an hour to get jobs done around the house. Not so much my eldest now, but my youngest, and before that my eldest was just the same. But I'm not complaining. I'm glad they want to be near me, and I hope that never changes. Even when they're grown and moved out, I hope they still pop over whenever they want and come and have family dinners. But anyway, me and Charlie have always said that it needs to be a non-negotiable that we have a date night at least once a month, because home life is intense and full on and we need that quality time together. By the way, I always use a razor to kind of shave sticky bits out of the carpet. I'm not just a weirdo. But me and Charlie have had a voucher for this particular restaurant sitting in the cupboard since February. So clearly it wasn't that much of a non-negotiable, but hey-ho, better late than never. It's trying to find a day where we're both off work together, and then trying to line that day up with the day we can get childcare. It's tricky, but I do acknowledge how fortunate we are to have parents around who adore the kids and who want to help out whenever they can. All of our parents still have full-time jobs themselves, so I know not everyone's as lucky as us, but they help us out so much with childcare when we're at work. I kind of feel cheeky asking them to watch the kids while we go out for date night as well. Not that any of them think it's a chore to spend time with the kids, but I'm really conscious of the fact that they also have so little free time. So once a month for a date night I think is decent. Anyway, back to the topic of finding balance in the chaos. I think we can be really harsh on ourselves when we don't feel like we've got everything together, or our life doesn't look the way we expected it to look, and we're constantly playing catch up or spreading ourselves so thin that things that are meant to be fun are stressful and feel like a chore. Or maybe we're not the parent we hoped we'd be, especially when it comes to things like only ever feeding our kids home-cooked meals from scratch every day, or strictly no screen time. I know that was the person I wanted to be before I had kids, and even for the first year of my eldest's life. At one point when Rudy was a baby, we were whole food, plant-based vegan, because I was terrified of toxins and carcinogens in everything. I have that era of crunchy mums on Instagram to thank for that one. I was completely paranoid and in the throes of postpartum anxiety, and I was determined to be the parent who never had plastic toys in the house, never used disposable nappies, never had any screen time. And it was going to be, my child will eat whatever I put in front of them, because they'll have been introduced to a varied, healthy diet from the start. What a shock to my system when both of my children who were fed a varied diet still decided after a point that the only thing they'd eat was plain pasta. I thought I'd be able to still make artwork and make a living from it, because my children will happily entertain themselves for hours on end while I do it. Cue a Velcro baby who refused to ever be put down. Becoming a parent is such a humbling experience. Anyway, that's all a story for another time. My point is, everything in moderation. We can only juggle so many balls at a time. And sometimes we do have to lean on the occasional ready meal or episode of Blippi. There's so much pressure on us now as parents and as people, especially with the rise of social media, to be perfect. And I think we forget that it's our first time doing life too. We're figuring things out continuously, and that never stops. When we're feeling down, it helps to talk to ourselves as if we were talking to our best friend. I would never dream of criticising or chastising my friends the way I sometimes do myself. So why do we so often treat ourselves that way? Especially if we know deep down we're doing the best we can. So with that in mind, I decided to drop the guilt today. I cleaned the bathroom in preparation for a lovely self-care bath. Charlie cleaned the living room. And here's a rare glimpse of him doing that. So many people think because he's not often in the videos, that means he never does anything. It's 50-50 in this house, and Charlie is an angel. And I am genuinely obsessed with him, and I don't care if that's cringe at all. The majority of this clean was just folding up the blankets that get pulled out 10 times a day by Ike. And actually, downstairs was extremely tidy by our standards. We'd managed to keep on top of it really well, but it's usually not sustainable. Once something comes up, or both of us are working weird shifts, or one of us has slept badly, tidying the house after the kids have gone to bed drops down the priority list and sleep comes first. And on those occasions, which is honestly most of the time, one of us will just sort it all in the morning. Here are the handprints that have been left on the windowsill since day one of this series. What can I say? You can't get everything done. Or maybe you can, but I'm not pushing myself to limits that I can't cope with. That's not what this series is about. It's about slowing down and finding balance. Pushing yourself to get motivated and get things done, but also accepting that not everything needs to get done in one day. I've done that to myself so many times. Forced myself to get it all done in one go. And it always ends up in a few days where I literally can't get myself to do anything, and ultimately, the state of the house suffers more for it. So yeah, while Charlie finished cleaning the living room, I went upstairs and started running myself a bath. I rarely have baths these days because honestly, I think they're more trouble than they're worth and I'd rather just have a quick shower. But I'm trying to find little moments in the day to practice self-care. And I know self-care doesn't always look like bubble baths and pamper sessions, but sometimes it does. I've gotten to a point in my life where I rarely do my hair and makeup. I look like Wurzel Gummidge 99% of the time. I'm constantly in my PJs. Just got to wax my moustache here. But it's only when I go to work or on the rare instances I'll go somewhere special that I'll put an effort in. I just don't feel great about the way I look. For my bath I decided to bring my star machine in and make it really cosy. Look how lovely it is. But yeah, my postpartum hair loss hasn't really grown in properly since I had Ike. So I always have random tufts of hair around my hairline that I really struggle to style. And on top of being a lot heavier than I was pre-pregnancy, I also have diastasis recti, is that what it's called? Ab separation. I've probably butchered that pronunciation. But anyway, it makes my belly protrude a lot. So I've not really found a new style that I feel comfortable in, and I really want to change that. That's not to say I don't love myself or that I'm not confident, but the two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. I follow a lady on Instagram called Caris Whitaker, and her account's all about how she found new styles to flatter her figure after she became a mum. And I really love her account, it really inspires me, but I just find the idea of putting together a new wardrobe so overwhelming. I feel so out of touch with fashion, and we have limited space for clothes. I really need to sit down and choose some staple items that I can style in loads of different ways. Anyway, I'm almost ready for our date night. We're going to a place where you can cook your own steak on a stone, and I've been wanting to try this restaurant for ages. And as I said earlier, Charlie got a £50 voucher for his birthday, so we're going to go all out at this restaurant. Anyway, before I show you a little glimpse of our dinner, I just want to say thank you for watching day 3. And as always, I hope you've enjoyed my little cosy side of the internet. And here's our little steak on a stone. We ordered fries and a side of macaroni cheese, and it was just the best. We have finally got some sun in the UK, so I'm jumping at the opportunity to sort my lawn out and get to the bottom of our never-ending washing pile. I started early with the mowing this morning whilst my eldest was getting ready for school, because at this point I was expecting it to randomly start pouring it down at any second, so I couldn't afford to mess around. Seeing a bit of blue sky, even though it was mostly still cloud, properly lifted my spirits, and it just gets you more energised to get stuff done, doesn't it? This is day 4 of my quest for a happier, more balanced life. Well, technically it's day 5, but yesterday I was working until the afternoon, and then my mum and stepdad popped round to help get some bits and bobs done around the garden. And I ended up filming loads of horizontal footage for my garden transformation video. So this is day 5, but let's just say it's day 4. Anyway, this is what my garden looked like this time last year, thanks to these little creatures. And this is what it looks like now, and I am so proud of myself for how hard I've worked to get it to this point. In goes the first load of washing. I would love to get to the bottom of the wash pile, but I think even doing 3 loads would make all the difference. So that's what I'm aiming for. Anyway, so yesterday we managed to finish the sandpit. We put up a bee hotel, because I know this garden's tiny, but I still want to do my bit for the wildlife. I'm going to put loads of lovely flowers and plants in soon. Loads of herbs and jasmine and honeysuckle, so the garden just smells amazing. And we also put some planters up near the window, which we're going to fill with strawberries. We do have a pot of strawberries on the patio, but we haven't managed to eat a single one yet because the slugs get to them all first. And I saw someone do this trick on TikTok where they put Vaseline and salt round the rim of the plant pot. So I'm definitely going to try that because all Ike wants to do is eat one of the strawberries he's grown. Anyway, if you've kept up with this little series from day one, I'm sure you'll be able to tell that I am in such a different space mentally already. I don't know whether it's because my hormones have shifted slightly because I was very hormonal on day one, or maybe it's because the sun's poked its little head out of the clouds, or that I'm starting to realise that I am capable of having days that are full of variety and that aren't solely focused on one particular activity, i.e. cleaning. Maybe it's a mixture of all of it, but I'm feeling so hopeful today. I think part of this pattern of behaviour that I've been stuck in, of only being able to commit to one activity a day, arose partly due to me having low iron. And that's a theory that's only just clicked in my head over the last few days. But I've gotten so used to having such bad fatigue and exhaustion that I learnt not to overcommit or pack my day with too many plans. Because I knew that at some point I was going to get worn out and need a nap. And then I'd feel even worse because I couldn't do all the things I wanted to do. So I'd always make sorting the house first priority, because I didn't want my kids to live in chaos. We all know how easy it is for a house to spiral out of control. But then it got to the point where we weren't ever really doing anything else. I'd come home from doing the school run, clean, and then have a 2-hour nap in the day with my youngest. Rudy decided to spill Ribena all over himself just as we were heading out of the door. I got all of that done that you just watched before we even did the school run. I was well chuffed with myself. And now I'm pegging out the first load of washing. I don't know why I found it so funny, but it looks like mushrooms teleporting in the last clip. And then it was time for the second load of laundry in. And back to what I was saying, it would just be that same cycle every day. Do the school run, get the cleaning done, nap, do the school pickup. I have to cut this bit of the lawn with the scissors because even the strimmer doesn't get to it. And yeah, it just brought on so much guilt because I'd see other mums pottering about on days out after the school run. Even things as simple as taking their younger kids to the park or having a sit down in a cafe. And there we'd be, in the house, in our PJs, until it was time to pick Rudy up because I just felt so ill all the time. But since I've been prescribed iron, I think it's been just over a month now, I literally feel like a brand new person. But I feel like my mind needs to catch up with my body now and remember, if you want to plan out your day and do this and then this and then this, you actually can. And it's not going to be a miserable slog that you can't enjoy because you can barely keep your eyes open. Stop to make Ike a little snack here. Ike is absolutely obsessed with berries. And then I went to collect washing load number 2. But yeah, I'd been feeling so ill and tired for so long, and it was gradually getting worse and worse, and I had no clue that it was so easily resolved. And I say all this to say, just go to the doctors. If you don't feel right, don't put it off. It's worth your time to go. And now that I'm on the mend, I really want to try and get out more. But I do want to highlight again here something I always talk about. And that's, although this particular problem of mine was solvable, others have similar conditions that they have to live with and try and work around, and those conditions aren't going to get better. Not everyone has the same 24 hours in a day, Molly May. And we need to always have that in the back of our minds and practice compassion. Even if someone appears visibly well, we really don't have any idea. And just because we might find something easy, doesn't mean everyone does. It's common sense really, but you'd be surprised how many people lack common sense and how tactless people can be. It's also important to remind ourselves often that our worth isn't measured by our productivity levels. Anyway, as you can see here, I'm having a mini clear out of this laundry basket. Just getting rid of some clothes that I barely wear anymore, and clothes that the boys have grown out of because they've been at the bottom of the pile for so long I forgot they existed. I really have been trying to declutter loads over the past year and a half. I've gotten rid of so much stuff. But I do struggle with getting rid of clothes. Especially ones that don't fit me right now, but I think, one day, I'm going to keep it, just in case. But yeah, I've got rid of half a bag today, and something's better than nothing. And just the fact that the washing pile won't be overflowing constantly, and it'll just look nice and neat with the lid closed on the landing, is a massive bonus. And now it's time to sort this living room. This is what happens in my house when I try and focus on one area. Whilst I've been working in the garden, Ike's been in and out, just causing carnage in here. Anyone with toddlers will relate, but he can make a room look like a tip in seconds. He was playing in the sandpit, so I thought, here's my chance, let's get it sorted before he notices. Because I swear, whenever he sees me tidying, he's pure spiteful about it. He'll follow me and just undo everything I've done, or if I try and tidy his toys away, he gets so emotional. It's like he thinks that's the last time they'll ever be out. Here he is. Let's see how he reacts. So far so good, he's just wandered off. Went back to the sandpit for a bit. I know loads of people say, oh, I just clean up after the kids have gone to bed. But he goes to sleep absurdly late for a 2-year-old and still wakes up ridiculously early. And I don't want to come downstairs and start picking up toys after 10 p.m. I've tried everything with the sleep, by the way. Tried cutting out his naps in the day, didn't work, just made us lose even more sleep. But my eldest was exactly the same at his age and now he sleeps like a log. Here we go, look at him, pure venom. He was playing happily in the sandpit, there's absolutely no need for this. He's such a sweetheart really though, I know it doesn't look like it just then. He's just like a cave dragon, he likes to be surrounded by all of his treasure. Anyway, I redirected him back to the sandpit and we built some sandcastles. Best thing I've ever bought this sandpit, the only problem is this. It's a small price to pay for happy kids though. I like my children to be playing outside as much as possible. Digging and getting all that good fresh air and vitamin D. Anyway, today is Charlie's belated Father's Day present. And what he chose was an entire day to himself on his game upstairs. So he's been here the entire time. And his Father's Day meal was a Chinese takeaway. And before anyone judges, my Mother's Day present was exactly the same. An entire day by myself. I lay in bed all day in my PJs with a hair mask in, watching Bridgerton, and he just brought me food whenever I wanted it. And yes, you did see that correctly. The boys sat at the table and ate their dinner, and I ate mine on my lap watching Derry Girls. I started watching it because I love Nicola from Bridgerton. I think she's brave and a decent person. But yeah, I just want to say for anyone still watching at this point, or for whoever's watched each day in this series, I really hope you've enjoyed it so far. I know it's slightly different than my usual cleaning videos and a lot longer than normal, but I wanted to do something a little bit different and add more of a day in the life feel. And I really thank you for sticking with me. Here I'm putting out the 3rd round of washing, by the way, and it's starting to get a bit late into the afternoon, so things aren't drying as quickly. But never mind, I've got more done than I normally get done. And yeah, I think these kind of videos show just how much work we have to put in to maintain the house in a single day. It's not just clean a room and then we're done. We never stop, do we? Most of the time we have to clean up the same rooms multiple times a day, often with small children leaving a trail of chaos behind them as you do it. There's multiple loads of pots to wash and jobs to be done. That's not factoring in everything else we have to do in a day. Soothing little humans with big emotions, making a million snacks, playing the role of friend, chef, teacher, nurse, all in one. And these videos give more of a glimpse into how fast mess can happen when you've got kids and pets. So yeah, just thank you for sticking with me this far. It really means a lot. Had to bring the clothes horse outside at this point because we'd run out of pegs. And then, whilst the kids were upstairs drawing, I got my exercise in for the day. Before kids, I used to HIIT train 5 days a week and I just felt amazing for it. And I've been trying for so long to incorporate it back into my day-to-day life. But after all the stuff with the low iron and the exhaustion, I was just never able to keep it up for more than a few days. Plus, finding an extra half an hour even, where the kids had let me get it done, proved very difficult. It's getting a lot easier these days though. By the way, trying to get the cover on this sandpit is an actual nightmare. Trying to put it down on one side and it yanks it away from the other side. There's so many cats in the area though, I can't afford not to cover it at night. But as I was saying, as much as things like face masks and bubble baths, like you saw on day 3, are self-care, this is also self-care for me, getting exercise in. And I must admit, it helps so much having a supportive partner. We also do a lot of walking as a family every day, but I thought it was kind of unnecessary to include it in this particular video. Had to pull the top of the handheld hoover bit out there, because Ike at some point didn't see him do it, decided to pour sand all over the top of the hoover and it wedged the long bit in. Could not get it out, so that's great. Boys are cleaning up the pens before bath time. It's hair wash and nails day today. The only thing that gets Ike to tidy up is watching Rudy do it because he's always in competition with him. And while they were having bath time, obviously being cared for by Charlie, I gave the floors a good mop. For someone who's not the tidiest person, let's be real, I love cleaning and mopping is my favourite. I find it so satisfying. I developed an obsession with it when I was pregnant with Ike. Partly because I just got the cleaning bug, I was constantly mopping. But also, I craved the smell of certain cleaning products. And I kept researching, why do pregnant people crave certain smells? Because I know sometimes they get a craving to chew on coal and things like that because of low iron levels. But I never found out why I was so obsessed with the smell of cleaning stuff. Weird. Anyway, that is day 4 done. So our bedroom has gotten out of hand. This is what happens when all of my attention's focused on a project or another area of the house. My bedroom just bears the brunt because I just think, it's not one of the important rooms like the living room or the kitchen. I'll just sort it later. It's just a place to sleep. Which I know is not true, by the way. I know a bedroom can be so much more than that, but that's what I tell myself at the time. So over the last 3 days, yes, 3 days it's taken for it to get like this, I've either been at work or working in the garden. And we've planted so many lovely new plants, which I'll show you later, and my garden looks amazing. But this is what's happened to my bedroom as a result. Apparently, I really can't just have a tidy house throughout. There has to be one room that's a disaster. And I know it's vile, and I know I shouldn't eat up here, and I know I'm going to get judged. And I'll even get people saying, you've made this mess on purpose so you can make a video. And honestly, I wish I lived with a mind in which something like this was a conscious and tactical choice. But really, it's just something that happens. And every time I'll sit in it and think, I don't know how it got out of hand so fast. I mean, I do, looking back, but whilst it's happening, I'm not really aware it's happening. And each little mess is a separate entity that I convince myself is easily solved in the morning. And then the morning comes, and I have a million other things I need to do. And by the time I decide, yep, it's time to do something about this, it's no longer a few individual messes, it's one massive blur of a mess. Anyway, so my first task was to clear the floors and get the bed sheets in the wash. So that's been checked off the list. Progress. While the sheets were washing, I took Mushroom out for a walk before it got too warm. And then it was time for the next thing on the list. And I know so many people are going to be disappointed with me here, but I promise you're not as disappointed as I am with myself. But the lovely cupboard that I cleared out and turned into my cosy self-care space has been cluttered up with stuff again. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to dedicate an entire day to this bedroom, sort this cupboard out while I'm at it. And it's nowhere near as bad as it was, so at least I've caught it at an earlier stage of clutter. Remember I said I was doing quarterly declutters around the house to make sure it never got as bad as it was again? Well, the last one I did on this cupboard to keep it in check was in April. That was the second quarterly declutter, and I'm meant to be doing the next one in July. But I went against my own nature today, which I'm very proud of, and thought, why not just do it now? I'm sure the clutter will manage to creep back up a little in between time. I hope not, but it's just so tempting, isn't it, when you're trying to tidy up and make your rooms look nice, to just stash stuff in the cupboards where you can't see them, especially when you've got limited time or you need to put something in the attic. It's just out of sight, out of mind, isn't it? It's a quick fix, and I have a massive problem with hiding mess because I just want the gratification of a tidy space. I'm like a squirrel. I just hide things for another day. Problem solved. I don't know if you noticed, but I even hid clothes from the top of my laundry pile in there because we were having a landlord inspection. Anyway, that's cleared. This is what I've got to sort. But before that, I had a quick breather and took Ike to baby group. Even though I'm dedicating an entire day to my bedroom, I didn't want that to mean we were not leaving the house at all. Here's all of my new plants I put in. So we've got some lavender, some jasmine, a little plum tree, a red currant bush. And then over in the planters near the window, we've got strawberries. And I have always hated this little rocky patch in the garden. But now it's full of herbs and I'm so happy with it. Started filling the pool up for the boys because it was getting warm. It's funny because I was moaning about the constant rain the other day. British weather is just fickle. Not complaining though, it's been lovely. But as I was saying, the staying in the house all day when I'm working on a project or a task is a behaviour I want to change. I don't want to always obsessively focus on one thing to the detriment of life. Here I am scratching off mine and Charlie's next date. I got Charlie to pick a number between 1 and 30. I love that idea of a chart that chooses your date for you. It's just a way to make things more exciting and push you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Because I think sometimes it can get a little bit repetitive. Our dates are mostly going out to restaurants, which is great, but it's always nice to do something different. And I think it helps you get to know people in different ways, even when you've known that person for years. Okay, so what I did here to tackle this pile was I split the items into 4 categories. Clothes that needed to go back on the wash pile, things that needed to go in the attic, things I could get rid of, and then things that needed to go back in their rightful place in the cupboard. I find making a game plan with tasks like this really helps. It helps you stop being overwhelmed. Because in the past, I'd look at a pile like that and think, nope, no way. I had a mattress protector in there for months that I hadn't put on the bed, and it's meant to help you keep cool, so that's on there now. And then I just had a little section of the floor here that I didn't clean. And then I decided to tackle this. Now this has absolutely nothing to do with me. None of that is mine. Now, I can't judge anybody, and sometimes we just let things get on top of us. That makeup bag on the windowsill was mine. But yeah, it is what it is. I had been waiting to see how long it'd take him to sort it, because obviously this particular area was more than 3 days worth of mess. And you see me cleaning the bedroom on day 3 of this series, shampooed the carpets and everything. Didn't go near Charlie's desk because it's none of my business. But he spent 3 hours building a new set of drawers for the bedroom, so I thought, I'll clean this. I know which one I would have preferred to do as well, because that would have taken me 2 weeks. I say it often, but sometimes it's okay to pick up each other's slack. It doesn't mean that the dynamic's skewed in the relationship. Sometimes that is the case and people are being treated very poorly by their partners. But that's not the case for us, and he's cleaned my mess up countless times. Anyway, Rudy was home from school, and the boys had the best time splashing around in the pool. And I had one last project I wanted to get done in the bedroom, and it was to get rid of those tiny drawers that barely fit anything in. We actually exchanged another set of drawers for those ones, thinking it'd improve things, but it made things worse, because it had less storage space, and that's on me not measuring things properly. So we've finally got a nice big set of drawers now, the ones that Charlie spent ages building, and I'm really pleased with them. I know the room looks kind of cramped now, but you've got to do what you've got to do. Then we had roast chicken for dinner. Please don't ask me why I decided to cook that in this heat. And then to finish the day, we went for another lovely long walk in nature. Now, this is the final part of my Day in the Life series. It's day 5, but it's technically day 8 at this point. Saw a little froglet hopping along the path, and some tiny fishes swimming in the pond. And yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed watching. I didn't mean to have the day breaks in between the series, but life happens. And here's my lovely cosy bedroom again. And I'll see you next time.